Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome to our next snippet. We've done snippet 55, 56, 57 and 58. So we're now on snippet 59 and I've started a new book for 2024. So I'm starting with a piece of Pink Frog Smooth Card, 300 GSM, 4 inches by 6 inches as always. I'm going to use the new colour, Scorched Timber Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going to add the ink just to my A6 acrylic block, just in a random fashion. I'm then going to spritz my acrylic block with water. If you see any straight edges, just give them a little bit of a twirl. What I'm going to do then is just grab a little piece of kitchen roll, because you end up with water under your acrylic block and then you can't move it. So just wipe up the water. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Distress Oxide Re-Inker Peacock Feathers. I've given them a shake before we start. So I'm going to take the peacock feathers and I'm going to spritz that with water, and then I'm going to add those touches of the peacock feather just to my acrylic block. Just add those splatters. We'll just wipe that up. You could mop that up with another piece of card just to create another background. I'm then going to use Cracked Pistachio. Again, I've given that a bit of a shake because they've got a ball bearing in the bottom. If you haven't got the re-inkers, you can use your sprays. If not, you can use your ink pads. The reason I'm using the re-inkers is they are more concentrated, so it gives me a concentration of that colour. So let's just spend a couple of seconds just wiping up our bits of splatters that we've splattered everywhere. So just giving up a little bit of a clean. So then I'll take my 4 inch by 6 inch card format that we always use for the snippets, and then what I'm going to do is turn that over and just add that just to our card. Now what I want you to do is just allow that to sit on there. You can press it very lightly so that it does its thing and the water reacts with the card. You can press a bit harder if you wish. Now what I don't want you to do is lift that up straight away. I want you to just give that a couple of seconds just to stay on there. Now, the longer I leave it, the better. The shorter I leave it, the ink will suck into the centre. It doesn't really matter. But if you leave it longer, it will just stay there where it looks now. But for this technique, it really doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is just remove that. And then what I want you to do is take the extra ink and add that to another piece of card that's 4 by 6. I've already started one there that I did before, and you can add that to the a second piece of 4 by 6 inch card. Then what I want you to do, move that one out of the way. With this one, I then want you to take the Cracked Pistachio. This is not Cracked Pistachio, this is Peacock Feathers. Get it right, Tracy. Take the peacock feathers, pick up the peacock feathers, and then add that to your background. So just so that you can see that it adds a beautiful effect to your background. Just wipe up the excess. If you want to, you can then, I didn't do that on my first one, but if you want to, you can then add a little touch of the Cracked Pistachio. The peacock feathers works rather nicely. I'm not rinsing my brush, and you can take the cracked pistachio and you can also add that as well. Now I want you to do this twice so that you've got one for snippet 59 and 60. Well, we're only doing snippet 59 now, but do it twice, then you've got one for both snippets. So let's move that on one side, and I've got one here that I did before, and you can see the colour looks beautiful. So we'll just leave that on one side at the moment. And what I'm going to do is just spend a couple of seconds before everything dries just to clean up a few little splatters, because I'm using a concentration of ink that I've just splattered. Right, so I've got this beautiful background. What I want you to do then is I want you to cut a piece of card that is 2 inches by 3, so 3 inches top to bottom, 2 inches across. And what I'm going to do is use my Alpine Plant TE1, my first stamp under my own name, under my own branding. Just take the Alpine Plant and take the Scorched Timber Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going to press the Alpine Plant sentiment across the background. Just move it so you get different parts of the stamp each time, just so you create a background. It just gives you a background element. Just because that's a sentiment stamp, doesn't that mean that that can be used for a background stamp, and it works quite nicely as a background stamp. So just keep going down your card and just sort of stamp different areas, just so that it gives you a background with your stamp. I'm then going to take a little bit of the ink onto a brush, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that ink just around the outside edge, like so. Just to give that a little bit of a vintage feel. Let's just wipe that up. And then I'm going to take the actual Alpine Plant itself. Now, often we use the whole image all the time because we feel that that's what we have to do. Well, you don't have to do the whole image if you don't wish. So just give that a really good inking with your black Nocturne ink. And then what we can do is we can add, bring it down a bit, part of that image just to our 2 by 3 inch piece of card. So don't feel that just because a stamp is a certain size that your project has to be a certain size. There we go, beautiful. And then what I've got is we've got our background here. I've also got the text that's also with the Alpine Plant stamp set, and then I can add that just here down the side. So let's just take a little bit of adhesive, just add this down here. Not that I can pick it up, just add that. You can see I've sort of left enough so that I can just add the Alpine Plant text down the side of that piece. Then what you can do is just add a little bit of colour just to your stamped image. Now, I'm not going to spend ages colouring because you can do that in your own time. But what I would recommend is you take a little bit of the peacock feathers, a little bit of the cracked pistachio. There we go. Now, these are very concentrated colours. Take a little bit of the cracked pistachio and just add a little bit of the cracked pistachio. Now, this is a pigment dye fusion, so it's got an opaque element. So just so that you don't obliterate the detail in your stamp, just water that down a little bit. Just have a piece of kitchen roll on one side, just so that you don't have too much moisture just on there. So just add a little bit, and you can just keep dabbing just if you've added a little bit too much of the concentration. You can always take some off as well with the oxides. So then I'm going to take a little bit of the bluey colour, peacock feathers, and then you just add a little bit of the peacock feathers. Take off the excess so that you haven't got stacks of moisture. Just colour one of those just a little bit. You just dab it because you can lighten it. Now, what I want you to do is add layers of colour. You can then add this to your card like so. So just take this to the card. Just so we add this here. Now, what I want you to do is, I'm going to use my Posca pen, but I want you to use your bleed proof because then it won't take on the colour. I will add some of the bleed proof afterwards, just so that you can see what it looks like with splatters. I'm then going to add the word plant that I've cut from the alpine plant just here. Just add the word plant just here, like so. And I would go in and add another layer onto the flower. And when they're dry, use your gel pen as well. And then just add a little bit of dimension. When everything's dry, add your Inktense pencil just to the edge of your card. This is now very pigmented, so you need to remember that. Make sure your brush is nice and clean, which mine isn't. And please add those white highlights. So let's just add a little bit of the dimension. And when it's dry, what you need to do is you need to add some of your white highlights to your leaves, and you also need to go back in. We've only got seconds left now for our 15 minutes, but what I want you to do is go back in with the concentrated colour and just add a little bit more concentration of that colour at the edges. And that is your Snippet 59. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Don't forget, it's a snippet of an idea that you can then expand on, and we will create another snippet with our other background. So make sure that you do too. We'll just lift that up and say love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.